Don't do that again. Get it right in the future, because this is an absolute mess. A 9 out of 10. It's a hit. Hi everybody, thank you for joining me. So it's been a couple of weeks now since the Beatles Revolver deluxe sets came out, and I've had quite a bit of time to live with these now, as I'm guessing a lot of you have as well. And here is my guide to what I think they got very right and what I think they got very wrong in those sets. So I've got 10 different areas that I'm going to be focusing on here. The Giles Martin 2022 remix, the new mono version, the sessions discs, Revolver EP, the digital audio collection, the lack of Blu-ray, the build quality of the packaging, quality control of the boxes, packaging style and cost. I'm going to say whether I think each of those is a hit or a miss and get an overall score for this particular box set. As always, I would love to see your comments down below, so let me know what you've been thinking of Revolver over the last few weeks. So let's start first of all with the Giles Martin 2022 remix. Overall, what do I think of this? Well, overall I think it's great. I've been really enjoying this. I think in two particular scenarios now. First of all, if I want to listen to Revolver in stereo, or if I want to listen to Revolver in headphones, this is my absolute go-to version now. I don't see that I would choose any other version for either of those two kinds of listens. I might occasionally go back to the original stereo mix just for comparison, but this is the one for me. I think it's been interesting to see on the couple of listening parties that I've done for this, where a lot of you have joined me over the last couple of weeks, which has been great. And for each song I've been asking you to vote on whether you think the song is a hit or a miss. And most of these songs have been scoring over 90% hit. Last time And Your Bird Can Sing got 97% of you voted it as a hit. That's fantastic scores. I think Giles Martin, Sam O'Kell and any other people in their team who we don't know about have overall done a great job on this remix. I think using the technology that Peter Jackson has allowed them to use has really opened up a lot of possibilities, so that they've been able to present Revolver to us in a way that it's still pretty faithful to the original. It's still Revolver, but there's a clarity there that we've not necessarily heard before. It's opened up some of the instrumentation. There's some of Ringo's drumming, for example, has been able to be freed and to be let loose a little. But then there's other occasions when you could say, well, it's actually been sort of held back a bit, maybe in favour of other things. She Said is the one that's been the most contentious, and I certainly can see why on there. And I do wonder whether the decision to sort of try and demix everything as much as possible, which is what Giles Martin has been trying to do, it's an admirable task and it nearly always provides great results, but I wonder if it was a step too far on She Said. I think the guitars are left very exposed. I don't know whether the technology that's been used there is maybe, let's say, not as good as it might be in 10 years' time. It's fantastic now, but what could it be in a few years' time? And maybe it's just harmed those guitars a little bit in She Said. But I think For No One sounds great. I think it's really sort of kind of opened that up to be a song with a beautiful soundstage. Eleanor Rigby I don't think has probably ever sounded better than it does on this stereo remix. Same with Dr. Robert. I think it's really lifted it to be a more powerful song than it's been before. So overall, the Giles Martin 2022 remix I think is an absolute hit. I am really enjoying it. And I'm going to give that a 9 out of 10. Now onto the mono version of the album that's been included in this box set. And I think this was a great surprise for many people when it was announced that this was going to be here, especially the fact that it's all analogue. There's no digital in the chain here. And this has been taken a new cut from the master tapes using the original 1966 cutting notes. So I know a lot of people, for example, are not thrilled about the fact that it doesn't have the fold backs on the back of the album cover like the 2014 does. This is the one that I'm using for comparison because it's the only other mono version of the album that I have. But I'm not too worried about that. I think it creates a distinction between the two. I can understand if you don't already have it on mono that you might have been more concerned about the fold backs. Personally, I'm not too bothered about that. Now, when I did a digital comparison of the CD version that's here compared to the 2009 mono CD, it was quite difficult for me to pick out many differences, but I did pick out one or two. I felt that this was a little brighter on the new version. But I've since been able to do a comparison of the new mono version versus the 2014 round at a friend's house. And he's got a great system, a really good system, right from the cartridge, right through the chain to the speakers coming out at the other end. Fantastic system. We listened to side A first of the 2014 mono. Then we did the full 2022 mono, and then did side B of the 2014. So this was kind of sandwiched in between. And when we did the 2014, we were all loving it. There was 3 of us sat there and we were all loving it. It's probably the greatest mix of Revolver that there's ever been and probably ever will be. We had it on a really good volume, that was just nice. We were able to sort of give it some punch without it sort of blasting out the room. Now, when we switched to the 2022, immediately it was, whoa, turn the sound down. This came out a lot louder on Taxman than what we'd had for the 2014. So this is cut at a higher volume. So we immediately switched the volume down from sort of 12 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And 2 out of 3 of us in the room, me being one of the 2, we really enjoyed this new 2022 version. I think it's definitely a little brighter in terms of treble. I also feel that there's a bit more clarity on this new 2022 mono version compared to the 2014, which I've always found to be a great version, but a little bit muddy on the mix. And I don't find that this is quite as muddy. There's a certain clarity here. So overall, I was really enjoying the 2022 mono mix of the album. And it's probably, I would say at the moment, it's the one I'm most likely to play at the moment. Now, is that just because it's new and it's different? I'm not sure, but certainly I was really enjoying the 2022 mono mix. So I think they've done a great job there as a faithful reproduction from the master tape. So again, I'm scoring that a hit, and again, I'm going to give the mono 9 out of 10. Then we have the Revolver EP, Paperback Writer and Rain, with a new Giles Martin stereo remix of each song on side 1, and an original 1966 mono mix, which was the same as the single mix, on the second side. So I think the new stereo 2022 remixes of these songs are probably my favourite stereo mixes of Paperback Writer and Rain. I think they take a lot of what's great about the mono version of these 2 songs and gives it a stereo soundstage. It's not as powerful as the mono, I don't think it was ever going to be, but comparing it to previous stereo versions, I think probably at the moment could well be my favourite. The mono versions on side B of Paperback Writer and Rain, very interesting, because I feel that Paperback Writer in mono is just one of the greatest Beatles mixes. It is stunning, it's so powerful. And this is great, but I don't think it's quite as powerful, quite as good as what I've got certainly on the Mono Masters album from 2014. That's my other mono go-to version. I think that's better and has got a bit more punch to it than this, but it's close. So the fact that we have this disc, and well, could it have been another 12-inch disc packed with loads more sessions? Yeah, maybe it could have been. We've got 2 tracks repeated here instead, and the mono versions are probably not quite on the par with the 2014. So overall, I'm putting this sort of down the middle. I'm saying this is okay, but I'm putting it on the good side of okay. So I've scored this at 8 out of 10. Now, it's certainly not all going to be 8s and 9s out of 10 along the way in this video, but we'll come to that. First of all, it's the Sessions discs. 2 vinyl discs here, or 2 CDs in the CD box set of Sessions from Revolver. And I'm loving this, really, really loving this. I think when I compare it to the Sessions discs that we've had in the other Beatles albums over the last few years, I think this is up there with the best of what we've had, certainly. I'm really enjoying this, and listening to them in the studio making this album. This version of the band, because of course there's been so many versions of the Beatles through the years, feels much more closely to me now to the Sgt. Pepper version of the band than it does to the Rubber Soul version. Because I know Rubber Soul and Revolver always kind of get lumped in as a part 1 and part 2. I've never really subscribed to that theory too much myself. I think Revolver is too far different and pushing boundaries more than Rubber Soul is to really link it to that album, and it feels closer to me than Sgt. Pepper when I hear the sessions and compare it to the Pepper sessions. So there's some great stuff on here. The second version of Got to Get You Into My Life on here, where they've got the fuzz replacing some of the brass, and it's much sort of heavily guitar based, is superb, absolutely fantastic. We've got some holy grails in here, like the Love You Too Take 1, the Granny Smith take, as Jeff Emerick talked about, as he described it from the control booth. Superb hearing George's sort of early vision of that song. Did he know at that point what it was going to become? I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know that. John's Yellow Submarine. We didn't know it was a John Lennon song until this came along. It's just rewritten the rules about what Yellow Submarine is as a song. When we've heard Paul for decades talking about him sort of falling asleep and that sort of netherworld where you're half awake, half asleep and dreaming it, we now realise that almost certainly what he was talking about was the chorus of the song, the We All Live in a Yellow Submarine. But that verse is like something from the end of Plastic Ono Band. It's a bit like My Mummy's Dead. It's incredible the way that this song has been sort of rewritten in our minds from this box set. So I think there's some great versions on here. I've really enjoyed listening to these sessions. They sound great as well. Could we have had more of them? Yeah, we probably could. I'd have certainly taken more of them. But what we've got, I think, is superb. And again, I am giving that a 9 out of 10. It's a hit. So in terms of the actual music in this box set, I've just given it 3 9s and an 8 out of 10. That works out at 87.5 as a percentage, which I think is really good. I am really impressed with the music in this box. Now let's talk about some of the other things. I'm going to start off with the digital audio collection. The what the heck? So this was advertised at the start when this package was first announced. You can buy it on a CD box set. You can buy it as vinyl. You can buy it as the digital audio collection, which confusingly looks like it came in the CD box, like it did in all the others so far. But no, there's no such thing in the CD box set. There isn't any such thing anywhere. You cannot go to any website or any online store or any shop and say, can I buy the digital audio collection of Revolver? It's not a thing. Why was it advertised as a thing? I really have no idea. So this is, of course, a high-res download, streaming of it on Atmos or downsampled to 5.1 if that's what your system is. But it's not a thing that we've been given in the box set, which we have in the previous box sets. We've always had a 5.1 and high-res mix. Not in this box set, but I'll come on to that. So this digital audio collection is a thing that's advertised, but it's not a thing you can buy. I think it was very confusing. I think it was advertised poorly and just really badly done, basically. And I am giving that a 2 out of 10. We then come on to the Blu-ray. We've enjoyed a Blu-ray in all of the previous Beatles box sets, but not this one. So the official line that we were given is that it just wasn't ready in time. Well, we either believe that or we don't. That's up to us. I'm sort of staying open-minded on that one. If it wasn't ready on time, that's annoying. That's really annoying. Well, in that case, give us some sort of a voucher so that we can cash it in for the Blu-ray later on. Lord knows we've paid enough for these boxes, certainly compared to the price of the previous boxes. If it's going to be made available at a future time to buy, which Giles Martin has suggested, but to be fair to Giles, it's nothing to do with him. He doesn't decide whether these things get released physically or not. Is it going to be released? We don't know. My guess is they'll probably find some way to get us to forget about it and move on, because one thing that the Beatles have stayed consistent about right up till now from their very earliest days is they move on. They do an album or they do a project, whatever it is, and they move on to the next thing. Remember, we were promised Let It Be as part of the whole Get Back releases. They said they'd make that available to us. That's never happened. I suspect they will quietly forget the fact that there should ever have been a 5.1 Blu-ray and high-res Blu-ray in this package, and we may well never see it. I don't know. So I think that was poor, and I'm going to give them a 3 out of 10 for the lack of Blu-ray. That's a miss. Next up, it's the build quality of the packaging. So Here's the vinyl box. It's a lovely box. It's got a book in it. It's no doubt it is a lovely book. I have spent a lot of time enjoying this book. Far more time than I've spent with any of the other books in the previous sets. I am loving the book. And it's a great quality book. The CD box set as well. Again, it's a lovely, sturdy package. I really like the fact that they've gone gloss on the front, matte on the back. The thing that we all, as YouTubers, are trying to recreate is seeing the Revolver on the bottom there. I don't know whether this will work. I think you might be able to see Revolver on the bottom there. That's pretty cool. I like that. The build quality of the albums themselves, really good. That's great. So in terms of the quality of the packaging, I'm going to give that a hit. That's a 9 out of 10. So how about the quality control of these boxes? I have read so many instances over the last couple of weeks of people who opened up their box, let's say the vinyl box, it's got 2 mono discs inside, or it's got 2 stereo discs inside, or people have bought the vinyl box and the hype sticker on the front is for the CD version, or vice versa, they've bought the CD version and it says the album version on the hype sticker. The quality control on this has been poor. So whatever company is actually sort of packaging these things and putting them together, which presumably is not the same company that actually presses the records, I would imagine that I could be wrong here, but they probably go off to another company to actually put them in boxes, shrink wrap them, put a hype sticker on. But whoever is doing that, that is not good enough. And I would hope that the Beatles Apple company are looking at this and are either saying to the company that they use for this, don't do that again. Get it right in the future because this is an absolute mess, or I hope that they just go to another company for this. Because if this was, I know it isn't, but if this was food labelling, if these people who are packaging this were working in food packaging, you'd better hope that you haven't got a nut allergy, otherwise you are in serious bother. That has not been good enough, and I've heard too many occasions of where it's happened. So for the actual quality control of the boxes, I'm giving it a 2 out of 10. How about the style of the packaging? Well, I love this. I think it's a great style of packaging. I've already talked about the quality of it, but the actual style of it as well, I really love. I do like the fact that with the CD box is the same shape as the vinyl box set. It's much easier to sort of sit nicely on your shelves. That's really good. But the thing about this whole box set that annoys me more than anything else and angers me more than anything else is about this particular topic. So we have a vinyl box. Great, it's lovely. We have a CD box set, similar size. It's great, it's lovely. But if you're somebody who wishes to buy this on CD and wishes to buy it on vinyl, then you have to buy this superb book twice. That is not a cheap book. Now, this is the first time this has happened. With Sgt. Pepper, the White Album and Abbey Road box sets, the book wasn't available in the vinyl, and I know that upset a lot of people anyway. You had to buy the CD version to get the book. In the Let It Be box, they made a slightly weird decision that I wonder if they regret now, where the Let It Be box was a different shape, therefore they had to produce 2 different books of different sizes. But this is the first one where you are buying an identical book twice. And I think that's pretty disgraceful, to be honest. Now, if we listen to what Paul McCartney said in 1989...
Anyone with any sense these days got to be like ecologically minded. They may not want to talk about it, or maybe bored with it, but you've got to be, really, or else you're not going to be here much longer, you know.
Really, Paul? So you're going to make us buy this book twice? How does that fit in with this philosophy? So how would I have got round this? Well, quite simple. In terms of the vinyl box set, then I think it's absolutely fine as it is. Great, brilliant. CD box set, again, fine, brilliant, leave that as it is. But all I needed to do was offer another one of these where the box is maybe that much thicker than this, and then you could take the CD set here that's got all the discs in, and you could slot it in with the vinyl box set and have this as a third option where this is a vinyl and CD. Obviously charges quite a bit more money for it, but do not make us buy that book twice. I think that is really bad, and I really hope that they don't do that again, because I think that's really poor, basically. So, whilst the overall quality of the packaging is brilliant, or the style of the packaging, for that reason I'm knocking it right down to a 4 out of 10. The last of my 10 categories is cost. So this, of course, has been a really expensive box set or two to buy. So I've paid a total of £300 for my 2 box sets. Some people might have paid a bit more than that, some people might have paid a bit less. I'm probably somewhere in the middle there with what I've paid. That's a lot of money. Now, I understand I've got a lot of product for that £300, a lot of really good quality product. Prices across the world are going up. I understand all that, absolutely, that things just cost more than they did a year or two ago. But when you couple that in with the fact that, for example, there's no Blu-ray this time, which was in the previous offerings, then I think that's a bit unfortunate. I think the fact that we are having to buy that same book twice, if we're going to be buying the CD and the vinyl box sets, which, as I've said, wasn't the case previously, the fact that we're having to buy that book twice, again, I think that's a bit of a negative. So this could have been made cheaper to people with that combined CD and vinyl box set, for sure. But I also understand that we pay a premium for getting these things on release, or, well, Amazon couldn't even get this to us on release, to be honest. But I understand that we pay a premium and that things then come down in price. Just this week, the Let It Be CD box set has come down to about £35 if you ordered it from Amazon Italy, which is incredible. So there'll no doubt be bargains like that available for this, maybe a few months down the line. So I understand we pay a premium for that, but overall I think it's still very expensive, certainly expensive compared to what a lot of other artists can put into their box sets. But we pay a premium because it's the flipping Beatles and they're the best. So I'm kind of balancing all that out, and overall I've put this in the okay category, but at the very sort of lower end of it. And for cost, I'm going to give this 3 out of 10. So this is my overall tally of what I think is a hit and what I think is a miss in the Revolver box sets. I think overall, I love it. There's just a few things that have just really niggled me with this, and they've kind of harmed my thoughts quite a bit, to be honest, overall. But I'm really loving the music. The rest of it, I think there was things that they really should have done differently, and I hope they do differently in future. Hopefully starting with Rubber Soul next year. That will be the one that most of us seem to think is coming. None of us know, but it's where your smart money would go on a bet anyway. So yeah, that's my thoughts, but I'll carry on listening to and loving the music in the Revolver box set. As I say, let me know your comments down below, and thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.